ifcfilms and Shudder have teamed up to release Consecration, a horror thriller film now playing wide in theaters. You may be thinking to yourself, Ryan, I've never heard of this film. Is it any good? Well, let's talk about it. After the alleged suicide of her priest brother, Grace travels to the remote Scottish convent where he fell to his death. Distrusting the church's account, she uncovers murder, sacrilege, and a disturbing truth about herself. The film stars Jena Malone, Danny Huston, Ian Puri, Janet Suzman, and Thorne Ferguson, and was directed by Christopher Smith, who has done films like Triangle, The Banishing, and Black Death. So going into Consecration, I obviously didn't know who directed this film. I mainly went to go check out this film because it's a horror movie and I love to watch horror movies in theaters. And I saw that Jena Malone was starring in this film, and I saw her previously on Sucker Punch. I really was intrigued to check this film out. I do like in this film, it's a very moody and atmospheric kind of film. It has some really good cinematography. It's advertised as a horror, but I will say that this really isn't much of a horror movie. You're not going to get jump scares, which is good because you don't want to always have the same kind of horror tropes throughout horror. But there will be things in this film that you'll go, yeah, we've seen these kind of horror tropes. And especially with religious movies, you get a lot of the same kind of tropes in religious movies. But I like that we have a backstory with Grace's character here. Hearing about her past and what she went through and why she has this hatred towards religion and not trusting others with religion, I really liked how they incorporated that into the story, and it really has a big effect in the film. It's a big, slow burn film, and you can't really expect a lot of action going on all the time in this film, but it really does build on Grace's character. I think she has kind of a generic name for a religious film, especially for someone that really isn't religious herself. But when she gets to this convent and she's in Scotland here, she has to actually come across all these different nuns. You can really tell right away with these people at this convent that they're up to no good. Their motivations are very clear, and you can tell that there is going to be a disconnect between Grace and all these other people. These side characters that are involved in this convent, I can say that they can be very bland, and I can see where people watch this film and they just go, I'm not really caring for a lot of these characters. And I understand where those kind of criticisms come for this movie because there is some bland characters in here. Most of the people that she comes across in this film, you just kind of go, yeah, this doesn't really do it for me. And I can definitely agree that there are some bland characters in here. I also didn't like in the beginning of the film, they show this particular scene, and that scene ends up becoming part of the ending. And I found that they shouldn't revealed their cards in the beginning of the film so quickly because it takes away a little bit from the ending of the film. There's also some not so good CGI. There is one part where Grace's character is outside and she looks up on this hilltop and these nuns are jumping off this cliff and they're dying. And the CGI when they land, it looks pretty bad. Also, this journal that's involved between the brother and the sister that they apparently wrote when they were growing up, and it has this secret code language, and I really wasn't buying that. It was kind of ridiculous that they put that in the story, mainly because I can't imagine little kids writing this big old book that has all these secret codes that really amount to their life. It just didn't seem like something that they would write. And this is kind of one of those rated R movies, again, that doesn't really have a ton of violence in it or really warranting much of an R rating. There is a little bit of shots of blood, but that's really about it. I wouldn't say it's really over the top or really gory. And if you're not a horror fan, you're not going to be scared by this movie. This is just more so an underlying mystery. But I think more so it's a character study on Grace's character. And I really did enjoy Grace's character, and I enjoyed getting to know Grace and her backstory, and that's really what sold this film for me. It was a little bit more unique than what I thought it would be, and I can see where people probably will have a problem with this film, mainly because of the pacing and there isn't any jump scares. There's a couple scenes where people are lurking in the shadows or lurking behind Grace, and you're thinking, oh, this is going to be a jump scare, I'm definitely prepared for this, and there isn't a jump scare, and they never go that route. So I appreciated that about the film. but there are going to be some people that are disappointed. And I think when this does drop on Shudder, there's going to be some divisive opinions, mainly because of the fact that this isn't really much of a horror film, and it really plays out more so on the mystery thriller side. And also, Grace's father and her family life, we get to learn a lot about her family life. Her father is just a complete scumbag, and I thought when he was on screen and we got to see certain parts that he was involved in and some of the terror that he was involved in, I thought he did a really good job. And I think some of those scenes with her father and some of the flashback scenes, because there is quite a bit of flashbacks to actually getting to the story here and really unveiling the cards of Grace's story as a past character as well. So I really did enjoy those powerful scenes, especially with her family. Some of the things that she had to go through, it was pretty terrifying, and I did enjoy watching this on screen and watching it unfold. As far as a score for this film, I would give it a 3 out of 5. For a horror film, I don't really think that it really makes the mark on a horror film. I think from a thriller mystery aspect, it does a pretty good job of actually having this underlying mystery. I can see where people probably won't agree with me on some of this movie and may not really care for the slow burn pace that it has, but I really enjoyed the slow burn pace it had, and I enjoyed what this film had to offer. Let me know in the comments, did you like this film? Did you hate it? Was it kind of meh? Thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys on my next review.